மடிப்புக்குடியே நிதிபதிலி கலே மரியாதை கூறிய ஆசிரியர்களே அன்புள்ள மாணவர்களே வணக்கம். It is indeed a great pleasure to stand in front of the dear students and of course the legal luminaries here in celebration of this wonderful contribution by the Institute. I offer my congratulations to the institution for having made a very bold initiative and successful initiative and making a niche in the field of education by embarking upon this huge project of imparting knowledge not only in law but various disciplines. And therefore my best wishes to the founders, the managers, faculty members, the students for keeping this institution alive. In the beginning of the function, we did light the lamp. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Jyotirma, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Leaders from ignorance to knowledge, leaders from darkness to light. That is what knowledge does. I am actually thrilled to address the students. After becoming judge, most of the time we are facing the lawyers. We have to listen to the arguments, sometimes very wonderful, not so wonderful. But then rarely do we have this opportunity to interact with the law students. Yes, my dear students, I want to say a very simple fact of life. Knowing the law is power, living the law is duty, and utilizing the power of law for those seeking justice is the ultimate end of law. Therefore, law is not just about studying and passing law or securing placements, but it is about preparing to shoulder the responsibility in a country of 1.4 billion people who depend on law for not just for fairness and justice, but for dignity, accountability, equality, liberty, and the very trust that holds our democratic society together. Every day, millions approach courts, tribunals, and government offices with the hope that the system will resolve their problems with fairness. That is why those who understand law, the students, whether they practice in the courts, work in the firms, or contribute to policy and civil society, carry a greater duty and responsibility to ensure that the rights of the people are respected, power is questioned, and justice is not reduced to a privilege for a few who have the means and resources. But before I dwell on this, the significance and importance of law, I must address my dear students of the immediate concern of those who are graduating law. In fact, this is a recurring theme whenever I address the law students. I visualize how each one of you is going to play a role in this legal world. There are more than 1 lakh students graduating from various law institutions. which are numbering more than 1800s. Yes, for those who hail from the family of lawyers and judges, they obviously would have an early advantage. But I can tell you, those who are coming for the first time, for first generation, who are aiming to be lawyers, don't be afraid. You are entering a brave world, and you have to be brave. Law is not 100-meter sprint. Law is a marathon race. Your consistency, your perseverance, your dedication, your discipline will ultimately play an important role in your success. Therefore, there is nothing to be worried about as you look forward after you get your degree and walk out from the gate of this institution. Law is essentially founded on the skill and merit. And today, the legal world offers enormous opportunities. When I pass out law in the 80s, there were only two things. Either you become a lawyer or appear for civil services. But now things have changed. There are new avenues for the law students. Yes, as you chart out your path, you have to keep this IOA framework. What is IOA framework? I represents interest. You must continue to have the interest in law. The moment you lose interest, you are going to lose. Interest, you must keep the interest in law. Yes, and you must look out for opportunities. And I mentioned opportunities galore. And ability, yes, you must consistently perform. You must keep up your knowledge abreast. These are three as you walk into the new world of law. There are many, many opportunities. First, of course, is the favorite of many law students who are doing well to join the judiciary. I'm sure many of you are preparing for the judicial service. All the best. It's a wonderful opportunity to do justice. And of course, I know many of you are also gearing to become a litigation lawyer. Absolutely great. In fact, litigation lawyering is the crown jewel in this field. There's nothing like this, no challenging, so fascinating, so engaging like being a lawyer, which requires all the skills, not only what have been learned in your colleges, but have been spoken eloquently by many speakers before. All these skills, knowledges have to be combined together to produce the most potent, powerful force of lawyering. Yes, there may be who are interested to continue academics, who have academic bent of mind. You can join the profession of teaching. I'm sure the institute will offer all those opportunity to teach those who are seeking to teach. Yes, there are many other areas. The various government departments offer legal departments where you can apply. Yes, you can also have experience in various institutions like Human Rights Commission, where they regularly appoint law clerks and law assistants advisors. There are new areas also of opportunity in the field of media. So almost all the medias, as you can see, they are always in conflict with law on many times. Not on conflict, but because of the nature of the work they do, they are always exposed to the issues of laws. Therefore, they always need a pool of lawyers to help them, to guide them. Yes, also mentioned by earlier speakers, the mediation and arbitration is an emerging trend. Today, India is seeking to be the hub of arbitration of the world. And for that, we need a pool of lawyers who are trained with a skill in arbitration. Similarly, mediation also is getting a big boost. The government of India, the parliament, in fact, had enacted the Mediation Act 2023, as all of you know. And again, it offers an immense opportunities for those who have this knack of negotiating, knack of advising, conciliation. These are all new areas of opportunity. And there are a number of law firms in India are coming up. And as India is opening up to the international law firms also, there are new avenues coming up. Yes, today we live in digital world. And AI in law is again an evolving phenomenon. For those who are expert in law, those legals, I would urge you to get your skill in technology. It is very important because what is happening till now in the development of AI in the field of law is that these softwares are being developed by technocrats who have little knowledge of the law and the requirements of the law in our society. They may be very good technicians. They may help in building of these cars, automated cars. Fine, robots. But that is not what, because law, as mentioned earlier also, it is not a profession. It is a service to the nation where empathy, sympathy, compassion, feeling for others come into play. So how do we integrate science? Science does not have emotion. Science is pure science, 1 + 1, 2, nothing else. How to integrate this scientific knowledge with the requirement of law to deal with human problems. Law is not just while writing judgments, we are not answering questions, academic questions. We are trying to solve the human problem in the family, the human problem of business, human problem of social interactions. Therefore, each and every judgment is unique. Every judgment is dependent on the peculiar facts and circumstances of the case. As mentioned earlier also, there cannot be a shirt which fits all. Law does not contemplate. Whereas science goes for specification, science for perfection, systematic, which is not there in law, because we are dealing with human problems. So these are areas for the young lawyers, young students who are graduating. Their options are available. Be brave, confident. I'm sure you will be successful. Yes, fortunately, this country, this land, Tamil Nadu, has produced giants in the field of law. Remember Sir Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, who played a pivotal role in the framing of our constitution, passionately championing universal adult franchise and the protection of fundamental rights. At the very inception of India's independence, when most of the countries in the world were restricting the voting rights of the people, India stood for a universal voting right, franchise, irrespective of your caste, gender, economic standing, thus allowing them to contribute in shaping the destiny of this nation. Remember Justice Patanjali Sastri, who served as the Chief Justice of India from 51 to 54. In the state of West Bengal versus Bela Banerjee, decided in 1953, a 5-judge bench headed by Justice Sastri, by a 3-2 majority, struck down the West Bengal Land Development and Planning Act of 1948, a land acquisition from the legislation from the West Bengal, and held that compensation for land acquisition must be just and fair and not arbitrary. Another illustrious example I can remember is from Madras is Sir T. Muthuswami Iyer, born in January 1832 in Puducherry, Tanjavur district. He rose from a childhood of poverty to become the first Indian judge of the Madras High Court in 1878. We also remember of Vellore Lakshmana Swami Ithiras, the visionary behind the Ithiras College for women in Chennai. He left his education at 19 to pursue law in England and returned to become the first Indian public prosecutor of the Madras High Court. His greatest legacy was in using his success to uplift others, donating a significant sum to establish one of the first women colleges in Madras. His story proves that legal expertise can be a powerful tool for social reform. So in front of you, you have heroes of this land. We have contributed immensely for the development of this state and this area. Yes, as we see today, the India consists of various states and communities. Each of is rich in tradition, history. And we are all bound together by this wonderful legal document, one of the finest, one of the finely crafted legal document, called the Constitution of India, which binds us together. And imbibed by values and principles and ideas which are clearly enumerated in a preamble to the Constitution of India. Anyone from the final year student, could you recite the preamble with me? Please stand up. Yes, please. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign socialist democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens, yes, please, to secure, yes, please, is a mantra. It is a mantra, constitutional mantra, having and to secure to all its citizens justice. Wonderful. Liberty of thought, expression, faith, belief and worship. Equality of opportunities. Wonderful. And to assuring, yes, fraternity. Wonderful. And that assuring the dignity of all individuals. Please, I know many of you are very religious persons. Many of you cite Gayatri mantra in the morning or some other slokas would Brother Mahadevan would really recollect. You start with some prayers because you invoke those divine power to guide you properly in your daily life. As a lawyer, preamble is the divine mantra of the Constitution to guide you, to work, to express your views in the light of the principles embodied in the Constitution. So every lawyer, every judge must keep this Constitution and a preamble in front and start his journey. This is very important. Yes, you have mentioned about justice, equality, liberty, fraternity also. Can you tell me, did we borrow from French Revolution these expressions? Can any student tell me, when we drafted this Constitution, did we borrow from the French Constitution, French history, French Revolution? Yes? Many people think that, yes, we did borrow. But I say, without any hesitation, we did not borrow because it was already there. The principles of these values were already there in our history and our culture. Justice. If you remember, justice, according to Indian tradition, concept, philosophy, is based on dharma. Dharma is not religion. Dharma is not puja in a temple. Dharma is a way of life, leading a righteous life. Dharma is a word which is derived from the Sanskrit word dhri. Dhri is to hold. What holds together everybody, different sections of the society? What holds together in spite of having different opinions? That is dharma, that is justice. Because it is the sense of justice which brings us all together. In India, if you feel that yes, there is a problem, whether it's a Tamil Nadu or UP or Maharashtra or Kerala, we all come together under the banner, yes, we protest because this is wrong. The sense of justice brings us all together in spite of our differences, because we have the common urge to have injustice, to do away with injustice and to uphold justice. Dharma, justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, yes, you can say. French Revolution, again I say, it's, if you look at it, the history of India, I am reminded of Tiruvarur, one of the greatest personalities of Tamil Nadu. In his Tirukarul, he says, justice may be called good only when it acts impartially regardless of the class of men. The whole concept of equality. See, he had envisaged that. It's a 100 years, 1,000 years wisdom. It is not, these words were not invented in 1949, 47 when Constitution was drafted. What is the history behind it also? How do we say that? I am not just saying out of the blue. Those who are students of history will know that the Jews came to India 2,500 years ago. When the first temple in Israel was destroyed by Roman Empire, many of the Jews fled from Israel, took shelter in different parts of the country. Some of them did come to India. It was followed by the destruction of the second temple built in Jerusalem. And the Hindu kings welcomed them. Let them allow to practice their faith. They were not told, no, you have to leave your practice, your faith. You continue. They were allowed to construct the synagogues. If you remember the history again, when Portuguese invaded India, they wanted to destroy these synagogues. And the king asked the Jews, don't worry, you can build a synagogue next to my palace so that the Portuguese army cannot destroy. What is this? This is justice. What is this? Equality. Because you are treating another person with equal as you treat your own citizens. And what is this? It is also fraternity. Because you are welcoming another community as part of your community, as a brother. So we have equality, we have justice, fraternity. So those people who will answer that it is from French Revolution, perhaps they will not get any mark in the examination if I am the examiner. Same thing, if you, again, the Parsis who follow the Zoroastrian religion, when Persia was occupied by the Arabs, they again ran skelter-helter. They came to India. They took shelter. That's why you see in the western coastal belt of India, from Surat onwards, Gamandiu, Bombay, all this western portion, large number of inhabitants belonging to Persian community. And some people may say the Muslims came during the Mughals. No, the Muslims were already there in Malabar coast. They came by trade. There was a communication, there was a trade and commerce. Indian businessmen would go to African and this Arab continent, and Arab traders would come and settle here. Hundreds of years before, even the Mughals before they came. So you see, the India was already a land where justice prevailed, where equality is assured, where fraternity is practiced, where liberty is also guaranteed. So these are the principles incorporated in this constitution, and we have a solemn duty to ensure that these constitutional values remain intact, upheld, protected, and practiced. This is our greatest responsibility. Of course, I have spoken much about the Indian Constitution beyond my brief, because as I see, I am supposed to speak on, my timing was 12:10 p.m. Now is already more than 1 hour late, and I have to do this fine balancing act of reconciling your right to freedom of food. Article 21. Because you must be watching your watch. Freedom, the right to food, and which is very difficult to deny, because it does not come from a heart or mind. It comes directly from your stomach, of which you have no control. And my right to speech, being invited as a guest speaker of this, I want to assert it also. Therefore, I have to do a fine balancing act. I will not take much of your time, but I will just refer to the uniqueness of this country. We think that we are lawyers, judges. Our role is confined to courts. Nothing else. No. Our life is ever present. You don't know what kind of problem will come. As I mentioned earlier, it may be a family dispute. And now what is happening in India today? A person from Tamil Nadu will get married, a person from Bihar also. We have instances because of the communication, because of this openness. From UP, Kerala, people are marrying. At the same time, there are also cases of differences of opinion. Divorce cases are coming up. Every day, brother Mahadevan is here. In the Supreme Court, every day, all the courts are dealing with transfer cases of domestic differences. Either divorce cases, matrimonial cases, maintenance cases. How do we deal with this? We must understand the diversity of this country. So don't think that you are a judge or lawyer in Tamil Nadu, your knowledge of Tamil Nadu is enough. No. We must go beyond it. That's how we become part of this country. How do we become part of this country? How a Tamil or how a Manipuri becomes a part of this citizen of this country? When we understand others. That's why, in spite of my absolute lack of Tamil, I try to invoke Tamil language. Kuncham gunjam, no? Little bit, not so much. I wish I had the opportunity to learn much more, because I saw Tamil is such a rich language. I was very recently introduced this work of Puducherry, this Teluvar, wonderful. When I read this, it's such a full of wisdom, not of individual, but of the society, how the life has to be led. Wonderful. These are gems we don't know. Many in the north do not know much about the Tamil language culture. Unfortunately, many in Tamil also do not know the language and culture of the other parts. It is time that the constitution which binds us together, through the means of communication, we must try to learn, understand others' culture. That's will we can make the real, can give it flesh and blood to these legal terminologies of equality, of justice, of fairness, of accommodating. Because there is a rise, unfortunately, as we see, tendencies of separate identities. It is absolutely wonderful to have deeply rooted in one's culture. It is necessary, but it is equally important to rise above it, because we belong to the same country, same nation, linked by this spiritual, by this cultural links, which cannot be seen, but felt and lived. In fact, if you go through, I would request, All the students, especially law students, go deeper in the study Indian values and Indian culture. They will give a glimpse of how important the legal framework is. Therefore, I would also urge the institution, I am very happy that the institution has so many disciplines, not only in law. The interdisciplinary approach is absolutely necessary in today's world. As a lawyer dealing with family problem, you have to understand the human psychology. Therefore, I would request, for example, a psychology department to interact with the law students. What is the psychology of a child? When the two, we find it so, disturbing that this husband and wife are quarreling like anything. And they are snatching this child like a thing. Possession. Child has an entity. Child has an identity. Child has a personality. How do you deal with that? The father says, I have a right to my child. I am earning more. I can send him to good school. The mother says, no. My maternal instinct cannot be dissolved. How do you deal with these issues? Human psychology, child psychology. Very important. And if you are a criminal lawyer, how do you say that he has been killed by this bullet? You obviously would like to see the post-mortem report. You would like to understand how the arms works. Forensic science again. Therefore, I would request the forensic science department to have an interaction with the law students, how this forensic science actually works. Same with cyber crimes. Today, one of the greatest growing crime is cyber crime. Frauds taking place. Gullible people are duped of their hard-earned money. Gullible, poor, innocent people, out of confidence and trust, share their very delicate, information data which is being published online. How do you deal with this? How many law students are equipped with this knowledge of cyber technology? Again, this is very important. What I am trying to say is that in today's world, as world is getting more and more integrated, not in terms of geography, but in terms of ideas, in terms of social relationship, all these aspects of human lives become important. Therefore, our study of law cannot be confined to CPC, CRPC, Evidence Act or Constitution. It has to be expanded to other areas of human knowledge. Only then you will become a perfect a lawyer or judge. Yes, as I promised you, though I had wished to speak on various aspects of this wonderful place called India, you will see, just recently, what is the place in Tamil Nadu, the recent excavation which took place, Kidari. It is changed the history. Earlier we thought Harappan civilization was the oldest civilization, urban civilization. Now we have a discovery in Tamil Nadu itself, going back to thousands of years. See, we must, and you see, the country, the Chola kings, the role played by the Chola kings. If you go Malaysia, if you go to Indonesia, if you go to Java, all these islands, you will have so many temples, wonderful temples. In fact, Thailand and Cambodia are fighting over what? Of the ruins, temples. Built by whom? All these wonderful great seafarers, the Cholas, Raja Rajendra, I think, the first Chola. He went. See, it requires so much of audacity, courage to go. Because, and I was listening to a speech, how they used to go. They used to, monsoon, monsoon in India is only thing rain. In Chennai, Tamil Nadu also, when there is a rain, there is a flood. That is the only knowledge we have about monsoon. Monsoon is a wind. When it comes from there, it also takes the ships to these places. Southwest monsoon. It takes away these ships. And east and northeast monsoon, when the rain comes, these bring the ships to the shore again to India. So these merchants of that time, the sailors of that period, they would wait for this monsoon time to come and prepare themselves for their voyage in the sea. Wonderful. See, these are not, they were done hundreds of years before. We must go back to our past, discover our rich history, culture, tradition, learn from it, and use it in the present, because we are product of the past and will be shaping the future. I will just end, but as I say, with this social media pervading our lives, we have lost sanity. We have stopped thinking. We are carried like herds, influenced by this so-called social influencer. We big train, and we are not developing that humanism, compassion, the togetherness, fraternity. I would therefore conclude with the poem of Rabindranath Tagore, one of my favorites. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, therefore we must be fearless, we must be brave. Where knowledge is free, the knowledge must be free. It should not be imposed on us. You must have the courage to speak up if some falsehood is being imposed on you. Therefore, Rabindranath says, where the knowledge is free, pure, where the world has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, that is conviction, where tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection. All these people all over the country, we still have millions of people seeking for justice, seeking for equality, seeking for respect, dignity, yearning hands. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, we have to be rational. Into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by D, into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Thank you very much for your kind attention.